Welcome to this episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. I'm Eric.
And I'm Angie.
We are married with a ton of kids.
We have 6 kids total. He has 3 and I have 3.
My name's Hallie and I love riding horses.
I'm Lexi and I love agriculture.
My name's Carter and I love eating.
My name's Chase and I love lifting weights.
My name's Summer and I love spending my parents' money.
I'm Dane and I love baseball.
Our show is about our blended, blessed, and always a mess life. And our hope is if you find yourself in the same situation we are in, that by sharing our story, all the fun and all the mess, the challenges we are experiencing, it will give you some inspirations, laughs, and community, knowing you are not alone in this mess.
We appreciate you spending time with us. Let's dive in.
Welcome to this week's episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess, where we thought this week we would talk about communication, which we've talked about before, but it does really seem to be arguably the number one factor in the success of all relationships. And I don't just mean marriages or boyfriends, girlfriends, but with your kids, friends, coworkers, you name it, communication, probably the number one factor in how successful those things are.
Totally agree. Even from a work perspective.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you're not solid in your communication, then you'll have some setbacks because we're all required to communicate well.
And for us, that means even with like our clients as well. Like we don't communicate well with our clients and that doesn't go well. So that being said, we try to be honest and transparent on this podcast. And the truth is we, the two of us, went through a patch where we were not communicating very well with each other. And as that always does, it puts a strain on any relationship. And for the last couple of weeks, I feel like, and I think you would agree, if I'm wrong, let me know, but we have intentionally worked on our communication so that we can kind of make sure that we're on the same page.
Yeah, I think everybody in any type of relationship, you go through ups and downs where you feel like you're communicating well and then you don't. And I think you can dance around it, but then it comes to a time where it's like, oh no, we've got to really work on this, and you let it all out and then you start back over on communication.
And obviously the letting it all out isn't always fun, but that's typically how you end up starting to rebuild with your communication, is when everybody hears each other. I think that's an important part of it. You hear each other and then you work on building blocks of communication moving forward. And I made the mistake, and then I kept bringing up the word communication to Angie, to which she replied to me in a text message. Since you feel like we need to work on communication, I will let you drive the convo for this podcast. Think about what communication means to you, and when do you feel like it needs work and it's going well? Come up with a list of questions or your thoughts around communication and marriage. To which I was like, my heart instantly sank. I was like, oh, you want me to what? Huh? Because in my mind,
I can't just say, hey, I think we need to work on communication without communicating well of what that looks like. That's weird. I
just feel like we've been together 5 years, and I was reading deeper into the meaning behind that text, which was like,
Shocker.
But was I right or was I wrong? That's part of the communication process. Did I get it right or did I get it wrong?
That's why we're going to talk about it, because everybody thinks of communication through a different lens. So yes, a couple times in the last week, you've suggested that we need to talk about this, that we need to work better on our communication. I think it's fine. So there has to be something. This is how my brain works. Okay, he must not be getting something from me if he thinks that we need to work on it better, because I don't see an issue. But I also have been married to you for 5 years, and I also know how your brain works. So my challenge to you is, all right, let's talk about it. You can't throw that nugget out there and not have something behind it. So you can come up with the podcast topic around communication, and let's dive in.
Yeah. And I didn't. So, but this is really what it is. You're going to get the live talk through of this communication, how it could work. Do we have the counselor on speed dial?
I mean, we might need her. This one might have to be really edited. So we'll give you this scenario. Let's just give him the scenario of today because it is 5:45 on a Wednesday. This is our date night because we don't have kids on Wednesday nights, and we're going to record a podcast and hang out. So Eric's mentioned the communication a couple of times. This will be my version because, ladies, we always have our own version of it. My office is our home. So for anybody that works from home, you will totally get what I'm saying. I'm at work. Eric comes and goes whenever he wants to, pops in, grabs something to eat. And this is probably the second or third time that you've been home, right?
I don't know.
I think so. And so I'm like hurrying and making my lunch. And I've got like in my mind, what's the next thing that I want to do? I want to squeeze in a workout real quick before my next call. And he's standing there like a little puppy dog.
I mean, I wasn't going to bring this up at all, just so you know. I wasn't even going here.
Podcast.
Sure.
So I say, what did I say to you? Do you remember?
What do you need?
No, I said, what do you need from me? Because you're standing there.
Pretty close. What do you need from me?
Now, in all fairness, how many times do you ask me that? You asked me that
there.
A lot. You're standing
very
there.
Heartfelt, very kindly. Mine are like, what can I do for you today? Like, how can I serve you today? And you can't lie. You can't even disagree that I don't do that. We'll get into
you
that.
do.
That's
You
part
ask
of
me
the
that
podcast.
all
Yours
the
was
time.
very terse. What do you need from me?
It's because
That was the look on your face. What do you need from me?
Because you're standing there.
Well, I mean,
staring at me. You need
5
something.
years. I'm not one of those husbands that leaves the house without hugging or kissing my wife goodbye and saying, I love you. At minimum, from room to room, I love you. Or if she's on a call, a text message, I love you. I'm very engaged as a husband that way. So by now, you usually know if I'm just standing there for a second, it means I either want to hug you or kiss you goodbye. That's it. That's all it is.
I know.
And didn't see the point in, what do you need from me? That was very deflating, if we're being honest. Okay. Very deflating. But again, so then you text me that and I'm like, okay,
No,
I didn't say.
No, time out.
What?
I said, what do you need from me? And you were like, well, I just want to give you a hug. I'm like, okay, well, give me a hug. So then you can head out so I can go on to my next thing. And you said, I think we need to work on communication. And I'm like, yes, let's do it. Let's do it. Because that's about the third time you brought it up.
I think I said, I keep saying things like, I want to make sure that our communication is better and better. I don't think I'm saying work on, but if I am, that's on me.
Isn't that the same thing?
As I processed this, working on this podcast, like you asked me to do, I thought to myself, in my mind, I'm saying this more positively than Angie is, but at the same time, we're saying it in the same lens, but there's different tone and intent perhaps, and it can be everything in a conversation. So I did deeply think through that and acknowledge that our wording is the same. We may be coming at it from a different angle, but at the end of the day, we are very much working on it. So initially, I did try to wiggle my way out
this
assignment. I threw a few more texts her way, and she threw a few more my way that made it clear that I would be tackling this assignment. And here we are. Talking about communication. So taking this an extra step, I just want to point out, I actually love you more than anything. And so I really do want communication. Yes. Yeah, but I really do want a good communication with you. That's very important to me.
Yes, it's important to me too.
When I think about guys that I know in marriages, they don't give two shits if they communicate with their wives well. And this podcast, I want to be a learning experience for couples and for people. Like that's part of, we started out as an educational podcast on blended families, and being able to communicate in a blended family is really difficult. Now add in the component of grief.
Complicated grief
and losing a child. And then the communication is even more important. So when I say to you, communication,
more important and even more challenging.
All fair. I agree with you. So when I say to you, I think we should work on communication, and we've been intently doing that. That's what I'm meaning by that. I'm coming at it from a heart that loves you and wants to serve you well. Not that I'm trying to win a battle of who hugs me on the way out the door kind of thing. I mean, that's all I'm saying. So with that being said, let's just wrap this a little bit before we dive in, that we both know, and you know, if you listen to the podcast, I'm very extroverted. Angie's very introverted. So when I'm struggling, I actually want to be around people, whether that's Angie, my kids, a friend, where Angie, when she is struggling, she just wants you to leave her alone. So, and that's easier said than done for me. I have worked on that over the last couple of years during this grief journey, but she definitely wants to be alone in that process. All that being said, what do we do? How do you move forward in those things? And so a couple of things that I wrote down, and you can kind of chime in, and maybe some people that are listening will go, oh yeah, this makes sense in my own relationship, is that what are the things that I feel when we're communicating and I feel when we're not communicating? So things I'd say that I notice when we're communicating well, there's lots of back and forth messaging between you and I during the day when we're communicating well, when we're communicating about things with our kids, things with our jobs, good things that are happening to us, challenges that are happening to us. We laugh a lot more when the communication is good. We cuddle at night before we go to bed, and strictly cuddling. That's all I'm saying. Like because we got kids home. We're just big spoon, little spoon. You know how it is when you're married, like you cuddle and then you turn the other way. Anybody that's married knows that. Nobody's cuddling all night long. It's way too hot. It's fair. Angie's got a heated blanket on, which makes it twice as hot in there with her heated blanket. But so anyway, when things are going well, it's that. When it's not going well, I can tell. And again, if I'm wrong about any of these things, chime in. I can tell we're not sending many messages to each other throughout the day. Not as much convo about things that are important to us. Angie goes inward. I can tell she's in retreat mode. Then I push, because then I'm trying to like dive in and figure out what's going on and you're listening to this, you're like, oh God, worst thing you could do in that time, right? Because now I'm yinging and yanging. Yeah, we're yinging and yanging at that point. And so I'm pushing for connection. That doesn't go well when two people are in opposite places. So with that being said, how do we course correct? And like we've done the last couple of weeks, it has to be intentional in how we react to each other. And you had me watch a really good video yesterday by a guy who was a guest on the Drew Barrymore show. And I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about what he was saying about loving yourself. It was right, but I also think it applies to loving each other.
Well, you said a lot there. So there's a couple things I want to kind of weigh in on that. But yes, the video was really good. I forgot what the guy's name was. I did not know who he was, but he basically talked about the perspective of that when you're born, you're given this human to take care of. And that's your sole responsibility in this life, is to take care of this human and help it grow and learn and evolve and love. And the human that you're given is yourself. And that it's a concept of that you have to love yourself and be a whole person in order to then be able to take that and carry that on to other people. There's a lot more said than that, but like, I love that perspective of this gift that we're all given, that we're responsible for. And it's no one else's responsibility but our own. And that just resonates with me, because I just believe that in my core. When you talk about communication, you very much tie it directly with connection. And so for you to feel very well communicated with, what you're really saying is, I want that connection with you. And so while they are connected, like connection comes first, right? And then the conversation continues. You get that attention first with connection. And then the communication and conversation is what keeps that going, which I totally get all of that. But from my lens, where it becomes challenging is that then I feel like when I want to go inward and focus on the heaviness that I'm feeling, that it feels like that space is not respected. And then it ends up being this little cycle of then you feel like I'm not communicating with you, and then you don't feel like we're connected. And so in my mind, when I'm having those struggles, I don't feel less connected with you. It's the only way that I know how to get through the next day, to get through that day. So that's where I think we struggle. When we do good when I'm doing good. When I'm struggling, our communication and our connection through your lens and your measurement is not well. And that's not a right or wrong thing. It's how we're all wired as humans. And so that's the part I think we have to continually try to navigate, because it's hard. And there's a lot of days that I'm super busy that I don't even think oh, I should communicate this, because I have 10 things on my mind that I need to get through that day. But for you, because that's what you really value and it makes you feel seen and heard, then you feel like I'm pulling away from you. And so just for our listeners too, when we have these conversations, I tell Eric, I'm right here, but I'm not going anywhere. But there's times where it's extremely difficult for me to communicate and feel connected when I am struggling to just get through the day. And that's what makes grief so hard on marriages. So hard. And it's not most people that are going through extreme grief, this is the common aspect of it, is it's hard to really express all that. I talk to a lot of mamas that are grieving. It's so hard to continually be open about everything that you have going on. And we're approaching 2 years. So you kind of feel like it's Groundhog's Day.
Yeah,
a little bit, right? It feels like it's the same thing over and over. And you kind of just get tired of trying to communicate and constantly be connected, where it's just sometimes feels easier and safer to just I just want to have the silence in my head, because even the fight or flight mode is nothing but brain fog in your mind. And so all of that makes it really freaking hard to constantly clearly communicate. So that's kind of what was going on in my mind when you were talking. I totally get it. I totally get that that's what it feels like. But you have to know, from my lens, it's not I don't want to communicate with Eric. It's difficult.
So when you explain that to me, whenever you explain it to me, it makes perfect sense. And nothing but my heart goes out for you and wants to honor those wishes for you. I think from my perspective, and maybe you're telling me this and I'm missing it, is that when you're going through those times, I don't ever hear a direct hey, this is the kind of day I'm having, and I just need my own alone time to process these feelings. And that's nothing against you, and I love you, but can you give me that? I don't hear that. Maybe you're saying that and I'm not hearing it, and that's a communication problem if it is. But I'm not physically hearing hey, this is what's going on today. And if you could, because I feel like I could respect. No, I feel like I said, when you say those things to me, my heart goes out to you, but I don't feel like that you're actively hey, this is what I'm going through. And this, so to me, it's just what the fuck is
But
going
that's
on
what
today?
It feels like Groundhog's Day, because it's pockets throughout the day. I could be having a great morning, and then at lunch, maybe I saw a video of Hallie, or you know what I mean? Something, all of a sudden this heaviness happens. And it's even heavier when you feel like you have to constantly re-explain, hey, I'm fucking struggling here.
But I want to sit in that with you.
But I don't want someone to sit in it with me in some aspects. You know what I mean? That's the go inward. Sometimes I want to go just hide in the bathroom and cry, which means no one's sitting with me in it. Sitting with me in it would be cool. I totally get it. I will not feel hurt when you're not communicating with me. That's really the ask, is don't take it personally if you feel like I'm withdrawn for a minute. You just know she's having a hard time, so I'm gonna give her space. You can tell if I'm having a hard time or not. You can use hey, we've been married for 5 years, I know you. You
Right.
can tell.
But again, from a communication standpoint, it's always helpful if there's some lead as to here's what's going on. No man has ever been good at reading a woman's mind. Okay.
That's fair. That's fair. I will do a better job of being really clear.
I mean, I love you and I want to support you in this. And I've walked every second of the 21 plus months we've been in. And I do feel like I have learned some things and gotten a little better at some things, not all things. But it's always easier when it's explained to me what is needed. And then that makes, okay, I can do that. I can handle that. If I'm supposed to guess, you are going to be very disappointed in the way I guess and the way that I go. It's just not going to work well. I'm going to guess poorly. I was never good. Okay. This is factual actually. And this came to me. This is not,
this is scary.
I was good in school because I had things that I could memorize and know procedures. Okay, this is A to B to C. I need that. I'm going to get an A on that course. And in a lot of ways, in this marriage, that's once I figure out how something works is typically how that goes. I was never good at word problems. So she almost spit out her tea. I was never good at word problems. I did not do well at those testing or anything because that meant that I had to figure out the problem on my own.
You had to think through something?
Shit.
I have a better memory than I have a better thought process.
Here's the lesson in this to our female listeners. If you're currently dating someone, ask them if they're better at memorizing or if they love word problems. And you know which one you should go after.
OMG. She's hurtful. She is hurtful.
I'm laughing. Don't you want me to laugh?
Yeah. Okay. All of that being said, do you have anything else you want to add before we move on into this?
We can move on to your next topic. I love this.
Well, so just in that regard, I ask you daily, very sincerely, what can I do for you? I know your love languages. I try to meet them. And when you did say, after I got over the initial, oh God, I have to write this out and like come through something, was like, you know what? This is an act of service for her that will take something off her plate and she will appreciate that I did this for her today. And so then I took it on as I paid attention to my wife and I'm going to take this on. So
you just reminded me of what's the Saturday night? Who's the Saturday Night Live guy that would look in the mirror and say, I'm good
Stuart
enough.
Smalley.
I'm smart enough.
Good enough. I'm smart enough. And doggone it, people like me.
Yes. That's
daily affirmations.
It sounded like you have a daily affirmation running in your head of like, you know what? This is going to be good. I love it. She's going to like it.
Trying to be intentional and just meet you at your love language.
Yes.
All right. So we think about our kids for a second. If you have kids and you listen to the podcast, we know how our kids want to be communicated with. Now, you don't know that when they're 3, 4, 5, but you figure it out as they get to be adolescents, like how our kids prefer to be communicated with, what they like, what they don't like, how we can push their buttons in both positive and negative ways. And so then you have to, I think, ask yourself in a relationship, like, are we doing that with each other? Like I knew that if I wrote this out, it would be helpful for you and it would be meeting a need in your love language. If we go back to our very first date, 44 Canteen in Columbia, Missouri, still love that place. If you're ever visiting Columbia Mo, go there, get their tacos. Street tacos are to die for. Angie and I discussed the love languages, the 5 love languages that we have discussed on this podcast, probably in season 1 before we were going through grief. But we both felt they were really important if we were going to date and have a successful relationship, because knowing that would give us the tools, right? I mean, for me, at least, it's going to give me a roadmap of A plus B equals C and how I can.
What you can memorize and show up.
How?
Yeah. No, I get it.
I feel like you're making fun right now.
No. You just used a math problem. I was just thinking, at least it's not a word problem.
There's at least one wife that's listening right now that's like, I wish my husband would have taken as much time to learn my love languages and try so freaking hard. I feel like you're making fun of me right now. That's communication, good or bad. I know that Angie's love languages are acts of service. That's like, she loves acts of service and quality time. Fair?
Fair. Yep.
The other one would be gift giving. And I feel like you like to give yourself gifts.
If I want something, I'll buy it.
That's always a thing. Like my sister's like, how are you supposed to buy it or something?
I like thoughtfulness. So that's rolled up in all those. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's me. All right. What are mine?
Physical touch and words of affirmation.
Correct. Well done.
Yes.
We're rocking and rolling here. So in what ways? Then I have to think about this. Like, how am I trying on a daily basis? So go back to the thing that you had us listen to from Drew Barrymore. And he talks about as a person, we have to, some days we aren't going to like ourselves as a person, but we have to choose each day to do good things for ourselves. And that's an area that I could be better at, is just doing good things for myself. And I've been trying to work on that. But that also then, as I listened to it, applied with our marriage, with our kids, in that as I go through the day, I have to intentionally choose to do good things for you. And so then I have to daily ask, how am I going to do that? Well, one of the things that I have been doing over the last several months, we talked about earlier, is I do either ask you or I'll send you a text message, some kind of chat that says, hey, what can I do for you today? And how can I serve you? And today you kind of made a comment of like, you're asking that. The more you ask that, I feel like you're really needing something. Did I get that right? Because I didn't.
No.
Go back to find it on your head. Because I genuinely, when I ask you that
you don't have to sell yourself.
I'm not trying to sell myself. I'm sharing with the listener what's happening. No. I am genuinely asking you, as a man that loves his wife, knowing you're in grief, knowing that you barely make it through most days, I am genuinely waking up with a servant heart for my wife. People want to say we pick and choose, cherry pick a Bible verse. My job as a husband is to love you the way that Jesus loved his church. That's the biblical part of the New Testament. And so I'm trying to wake up and go, okay, how can I serve you today? And that's why I asked that. So if I mistook your communication today, that's why I think we have to continue to work on our communication, because I'm like, oh gosh, does she really think that? What did you say? You
had said, I just think it's how we can better communicate with each other, with you, so I can make your life that much better. And I said, you already ask me every day what you can do. And I sometimes have something for you to do, and sometimes I don't. But when you keep bringing up the communication concerns, that it's more about than something you need. I'm not bringing up communication concerns. So in a marriage, when someone's bringing up concerns, that's concerns that they have, that they're feeling, right? Like, I'm not bringing up, hey, I think we have communication concerns, because I'm okay with our communication. But so in the flip side, you need more communication from me. That's what it's really about. And maybe it's because you're the introvert and I'm the extrovert, and I need to fully understand what you're trying to say to me. You require more, and that's okay. But I don't know how we solve it. Where do you hit that button to call in somebody? We got a lifeline here. Phone a friend. It's time to phone a friend. Oh my gosh. So that was why I responded that way. It's like, I don't feel like, I feel like we could communicate plenty, but it's not giving you what you need. There's a gap there. And that's where I think we struggle with filling the gap. And I think it's because it's that connection part of it. I'm not wrong. No, I should be a therapist. I love that she just said I'm not wrong. One of the most, what's the word I'm looking for? One of the most illuminating things that happened this summer was back in June when I went down to Hallie's house with Angie's brother, Craig. And Chega and I were doing some work on the house. That's his nickname. His nickname is Chega. But Craig and I were doing some work. And the day before, we were driving the golf cart, and he was like, this golf cart's still broke. It's making this noise. It's making this noise. I was like, those are bugs in the trees, Craig. There's nothing wrong with it. And his wife
Glenda was like, Craig, I hear bugs. I don't hear anything. This golf cart's squeaking. It's making a noise. Okay. Next morning, him and I take a long walk, about 3 miles. And as we get out onto the same road that we were on the golf cart on, I happen to call Angie, and she's on speaker. And about that time, he's like, oh, God, dang it. And I'm like, what? He's like, now that we're out here walking, I hear the same thing I heard on that golf cart. So it's the damn bugs. You were right. He's like, I can't believe that. I wish I hadn't come out here on this walk to know that I was wrong. Angie's like, Craig, don't let it get you down. We're never wrong about you don't even need to go down 5%. She's like, I only go down like you did. We can call Craig. She's like, you only go down like 1/10% at a time. So if I go from 99, I'm now like 98.9. I don't
Yes, I remember that conversation because he's like, I'm right, like 95% of the time. Now, like he dropped his percentage down. I'm like, oh no.
Like a whole percent. Yeah, he was like, I got to go down to like 94 to 90%. She's like, oh no, it's like 94.9. We don't go down that far. And in my mind, my eyes got big. I know they did. I was like, oh my God, it's real. She's not
genetic. We're so smart and right all the time.
And now I'm like, okay, all right.
Oh,
well, so again, I think what I heard before that is that this is my problem and I should work on it.
No, this is a communication problem because that is not what I'm saying.
That's entertaining. And
that's why I wanted you to come up with the topics of communication because you're feeling it. So I'm validating that you're feeling that communication is not well. So we're going to talk about it.
All right.
But I don't think during the day, like we really need to work on our communication. I get what I need. And if I want to know more, then I'll ask more or we'll have more questions or we'll talk about it. But like, I don't think I wish Aric would talk to me more. That's just the difference in people and personalities that makes marriage and relationships hard. So we're acknowledging that. But then, yes, to your point, we both have to put the work in to figure out how you feel like you're getting the connection and the communication. And then, I've got my own set of issues.
So we did cover acts of service, and you feel like I'm meeting those objectives.
Yes, you will do whatever I ask you to do. Yes.
And then quality time, I would admit, I don't always know if I'm doing that properly because, again, you're introverted. And I try to read when you want to go inward. And as we've already covered, I am not a good mind reader. So that I do genuinely, it's like, I don't know if I'm doing the quality time right. Like I know tonight is date night. And what I actually have learned about date night is, just let you guys into the world. Once we finish this podcast, she actually wants about 30 minutes away from me.
I did not ask for that.
She's going to go. She didn't ask for it, but we've done date night enough that I know that she's going to want to go sit in the bath for 30 minutes alone. Nobody bother her. That means
sacred. It's that sacred quiet time.
Right. So again,
that actually wasn't on my list.
Like.
That wasn't on my list, but I think that's a great idea. Thank you for suggesting it.
That's normally what happens on date night. So I find something to do for 30 minutes, and then tomorrow night she's already asked if we'd go see Phoenix and have dinner. And
I thought you'd be so excited about that.
I'm so excited about that but I feel like that's you asking me to spend quality time with you, and so I take that opportunity. What I've heard you say to me is you need me to work on my listening skills, and having dinner with you is an opportunity to listen, and being with the horse, something that I know you're so passionate about, is you allowing me to see you and your emotions and then to discuss those after the fact. And so that's what I'm hearing when I'm hearing you talk about quality time. Is that fair?
Yes.
Again, knowing I need your help when it comes to like, you need space because I can't guess that well. I can try.
Yes, I will. I will work on that.
But that would be the quality time. I mean, even when you first were like starting to take baths, I didn't even get the hint that you wanted to do that.
No,
I was fine just standing there. And, see, I didn't even get that out of the gate.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, most men wouldn't. If they go in and sneak a peek at their beautiful wife in the bathtub, guys are doing that.
Yeah,
I've learned not to go in there. I've learned you don't want me in there. You want the space.
No,
I get it.
I'm gonna stare into the abyss.
and I'm like, now I just keep myself busy. So
do you need more things for me to come up with for you to do?
No, I will take a 30-minute walk while you were taking a bath. That being said, all right, we talked about your love languages, and I know this is what Angie likes to do. She likes to, with me, she's like, "Oh, here's your topic. Now you talk about it." That way, she's not putting words in my mouth. She's letting me talk through things. So I learning because I had an A+B here from years of doing the podcast with her. Said, "All right, now I've discussed your love languages. Now you discuss how you handle my love languages."
With the B- or C-. I don't know. How would you rate it?
Again, this is your time. This is your time. This is not you to set me up.
Well, okay.
This is your time to discuss, and then I will weigh in the way you just did for me. I really wanted to know you and to know if I'm meeting you in your love languages and doing, or how I could do them better. And so that's what I thought this would be for you.
Okay.
I learned this from you. I learned this from you.
So we'll start with words of affirmation. So you love a lot of like validation and compliments and acknowledgement of the work that you do.
That's fair. I'm not going to lie about that.
No, you definitely need that. You crave that, and it fuels you. So definitely, I don't get this right all the time because it requires me to communicate, right? So I do try, but that's an area that I should definitely work harder on. The physical touch, that's probably about a -5. Oh my God, it's been so hard since I lost Hallie of just like, I don't know. We've talked about it a million times. You're just dead on the inside. And so I think little things you love, like if I would hold your hand or just touch you.
Touch my arm. I don't. She touched my arm. She touched my arm, everyone.
That is literally what happens. Like, it would be like you gave one of our kids like the latest PlayStation or something for Christmas.
She touched my arm. We're legit.
How excited he is if I make the move and touch him. So
my arm. I mean, we're literally my arm.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
And I don't know, struggle with that. Also, I'll have you know that the percentage of people who struggle with these two love languages are extremely high. I just want to let you know. You have the two hardest love languages. Did you know that? I Googled it.
I can see that you Googled it because you're like, oh God, I got to
like
about this.
Only 12% of people struggle with acts of service or quality time. My two.
How is that even possible?
I don't know. It's what Google said.
This is a BS survey.
I'll send you the link of what I found. I just Googled. Yeah, and then words of affirmation.
Acts of service require actual like work. Like I actually have to work on acts of service.
All of it requires work. Like physical touch.
Looking at me and being like, "Oh, I really think you're doing good at this."
No, that's looking through your lens. It's easy for dudes to touch females.
I'm not talking about touch.
I'm saying in the flip, you think acts of service and quality time like requires more effort, but you're not looking at it through the lens of the person that might struggle with that. So like,
oh, not at all. No, I'm not.
No, all right. So words of affirmation and physical touch are like more often in the guys' camp of what their love language is. But 27% struggle with words of affirmation and 21% struggle with physical touch. Then acts of service and quality time at 12%. They're lower. So I'm just saying, sometimes it's probably harder for more people when those in your mind seem so simple. It's so easy to touch my arm.
I mean,
but
it's my arm.
But I know. But so that's again the point of relationships and how challenging they are. And you really have to understand the other person, and you also have to be able to empathize and understand how they're thinking about things, which requires communication to talk through it.
And we're back to the communication.
Right. I know.
Hey, I do want to point out, in the last week, you have, to Summer a couple of times, mentioned that you notice how hard I've been working on myself as a whole. And that means a lot to me. It has made me feel very good, makes me want to work that much harder. I did read something the other day that was like, it was about marriage and like, ladies, if you really want to make your man feel like he can do it, just tell him how you feel about him. Tell him that when he's doing a good job, because we do want that. Like we want to know that you're proud of us. We want to know that you appreciate what we're doing. We want to know that you actually think we're handsome, that, that you think we're doing good with the kids, because we don't know when we're doing good with the kids. And so, yeah, those things are good. But you saying that a couple of times this summer over the last week has made me feel really good. And I appreciate that very much.
Well, you're also putting a ton of work in, and you do look great. But I would also flip it in that you also feel a lot better, and you see the changes, and you see the work, the effort, and the results of it. So I can give you those compliments, but you also have to feel it on the inside for it to really matter, right? If you're not feeling it and I say it, is it going to really make you feel that much better? It might for a second, but you can see the difference. So I'm reaffirming what you're already actually feeling, and you're the one that is doing the work and putting the effort in.
That's fine. But as a man, as your husband, I want to hear it from you.
Right. No, I get that.
Otherwise, I wouldn't need you. I'd just hear it from myself. Yeah. But I don't want that. Partnership, communication, I do want to hear from you that you.
No, I agree. I agree. We have to give the compliments, but I'm just saying, like, you have put forth the effort, and you're also feeling that as well.
Yeah, for sure. So all that being said, we do know each other's love languages. It is a effort to actively me choosing to meet you where yours are, you choosing to meet me where mine are, and just continuing to work on having open and honest conversations in our relationship. But if you're listening in your own personal relationship, to grow with the people that you love and care about, whether that's a significant other, whether that's a spouse, a friend, a parent, whoever that might be, that you're needing to deepen and grow your relationship with. You had a good idea earlier today that you shared with me about something new you'd like to try on the podcast. I liked it. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I keep thinking about this more and more. We do it whenever we pray with the kids before we eat, but so much of navigating challenging times in your life has to do with your mindset and being able to, even in the hardest of hards, thinking about things that you're grateful for. And so if we're going to get into this practice of expressing what we're grateful for, even when it's extremely hard to think about, there's times where I do struggle with what am I grateful for. I mean, Eric, you asked me, I don't know if it was Monday, like, what are you looking forward to this week? And I'm like, do you want the truth? Because right now my answer would be nothing. I just want to get through the day. Like, I can't even think about, like, in my mind, like, it's hard to even think about what am I looking forward to? Like, sometimes just thinking about the week is daunting, much less be able to think about something that I would be looking forward to. And that's just the realness. Now, 30 minutes later, I'd probably come up with something, but just in the moment. And so I think so much of trying to navigate this life is really thinking about the things that you're grateful for, even if they're really, really small. So anyway, I messaged you and said, I think at the end of our podcast, we need to, like, every time say 3 things that we're grateful for.
I love it. I'm going to have you go first. You want to go back and forth? You want to do all 3?
I'll do all 3 of mine. And I said, even, really small ones, but then here I have a big one that I'm grateful for. One thing that I completed today that I had not shared with you yet was that my illustrations are done on my second book. Are you with me?
Congratulations. That's super exciting.
It is super exciting. I approved my final changes. They made them. They look great. So I'm super excited about the next stage, where they'll basically take the illustrations and put now the words on the pages, and then I'll do approval of that. And then basically they would print it. But I don't have the same illustrator this book as my first book. So my first book, I had Kinsey Engelbrecht, which is my great friend Terry's daughter, and she did an amazing job. But she's also a college kid working 2 jobs and just super, super busy. So I ended up going through my publisher, who found an illustrator for me. And I basically said it has to mirror the same look and feel of the first book. So he did a great job of mirroring that, so you can tell that they flow together. But I'm excited about this book.
That's exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you. So that's number 1. Number 2 is I'm grateful for our screened-in porch. I have spent a lot of time out there just in the last week or 2 because it's kind of, you got the fall vibes going. But I love it out there because Hallie loved the screened-in porch. It does remind me of her, especially when I'm on the couch where she would, air quotes, do homework, and then you would find her and she'd be sleeping on the couch. But a lot of memories popped up recently where we're on the porch hanging out with her and her college roommate. And anyway, I just grateful for that. And then my last one is I'm grateful for summer playing Christmas music. So no matter how I don't feel joy filled, it's always like a beam of light whenever you see your kids genuinely excited about life. And Eric and I were on the porch, screened-in porch the other night, and Summer was in her room and she was playing Christmas music and danced to a Christmas song that was hysterical.
So
and
fun.
I'm like, oh my God, are you literally playing Christmas music? And she's been playing it multiple times, in the car ride, all that stuff. And it just makes me laugh because I've literally only lit 1 pumpkin spice candle. And I haven't even had a pumpkin latte, and we're playing Christmas music. So I'm grateful for the smiles that the kids bring. That's my 3.
Great. That's exciting. I love it. I am grateful that you and I get an opportunity to take Summer to play soccer this weekend. It's a pretty far trip. It's about 6.5 to 7 hours away. But I'd love to watch her play. I love to practice with her and do those things and to spend the time with the 2 of you. I'm super excited about that. So grateful for the opportunity to do that this weekend. I was grateful that this morning, 4 times a year, we have a quarterly chamber membership breakfast here in mid-Missouri. And I've been going to them for 20 years. I've been MC in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the event for the last probably 10 years. And 7:30 in the morning, it is hard to get a room of about 600 to 700 people to laugh at anything. I've tried for 10 years. I did finally make them laugh this morning, which was really funny to me. I mean, it made me smile that I even said to him, I was like, all right, it's all downhill from here because I finally made him laugh. But I basically just said to him, every year it's great to be back, but it's wash, rinse, repeat. 7:30 in the morning, you're tired. I tell a joke, you don't laugh. So this morning I thought we'd do an icebreaker instead. Please turn to the person to your left or right and share with that person who you plan to vote for in the election in November. And they all died laughing, which never happens. So I felt good about that. And then finally, I would just say that I am grateful that we have 5 kids that are still with us that see how hard you are fighting every day. And they all love you and they all want to show up for you. And I think that's something that Hallie loves when she looks down. And it's something that just makes me feel good, especially when each of them is able to show up for you in a different way. And so I'm grateful for that. We have a wonderful family. It's always been my favorite thing is this family, this entire crew. It's never going to be the same without Hallie, but I'm grateful for that and for those kids. So I do like adding in 3 things that we're grateful for. So good idea, honey. Well done.
Thank you.
All right. We hope that you guys will be able to communicate better after this. We're still going to keep working on it.
Or at least laugh at us. I don't know.
Yeah. Not because it's bad, but because we want to achieve and we want to do well. And so keep working at it that way. But we hope you guys have a wonderful week and God bless.
Thank you for listening to Blended Blessed and Always a Mess. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and at blendedblessedalwaysamess.com.
Reach out to us on any of our social channels. We would love to hear from you. Have a great week.